my favorite saying, and I got it from my dad, he said, the best time to buy real estate is yesterday. So whatever it took at that time, if that was the quickest way I could have came up with that money to get into it, I'm glad I did it that way.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 8 of the Millionaire Misfit podcast. Our mission is to help turn everyday misfits like us into millionaires like our guests. Their experience can help us quit the day job, travel the world, find financial freedom, and have complete control over our own time. Today's episode, we have Joseph Andrews, a buddy of mine, house flipper here in Fargo, North Dakota. He is high energy, high ambition. This guy knows how to get it done. Dan?
Yes, dude was super motivated. I was pumped to have him in here. He got me all jazzed up while we were in here and ready to make some money.
He came in here, was high value and high energy. He left you how do you leave you feeling after that? How are you feeling after this episode?
Joseph was awesome. He's one of those guys that just never stops. He's always got something on the horizon. He's always got something that he's working towards. And he had a ton of motivational stuff. It was just awesome to hear his story. And he even shared a little bit about kind of what's coming next for him.
A lot of value, a lot of energy. You guys are going to love this one, especially if you want to get into real estate, house flipping, and buy and hold rental properties. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Millionaire Misfits podcast. This episode, we have Joseph Andrews, house flipper, real estate investor, broker in Fargo-Moorhead area. And we are excited to dive deep into real estate because that's our wheelhouse. But we'll also talk about general business stuff and mindset tips as well. So I guess, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming. And tell us a little bit about where you're at right now before we launch into the whole origin story thing.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me here. This is a pretty sweet setup here. So a little bit of just where I'm at right now. So 2025 has really been kind of a structuring year for me. The last couple of years, I've only been in real estate 4 years now, and I was really running pretty fast and pretty loose and just kind of that 24-year-old kid at the time that just was ready to take on anything and everything. And it was great. I had a lot of great learning experiences and I wouldn't take any of that back. But as I grow older, and I like to say a little wiser, maybe not, but I'm slowly narrowing down what I'm doing. And I'm really kind of trying to pick from those, B+ and above deals. I mean, I'm sure you can speak for everybody here who's had a bad deal. Sucks. So I'm trying to do as little of those as possible.
Yep. I guess let's talk about your first deal, because that's what I want to know. I always love that when other podcasters talk about that first one, the ups and downs, your frame of mind when you were looking to take that on, and you were an agent first and then got into that first deal, right?
Yeah, my time frame gets a little sketchy there. I actually had bought in my very first deal in Moorhead through just a regular real estate agent, and my goal was to live in it and try and basically flip it, right? It was a long-term play. I was going to move into it, needed a bunch of work, kind of the Burr method or whatever, we've talked about before. And in the meantime, I think I had been in there just a few months and then I got my license. But when I had bought in that first deal, it probably was right around that 2020-ish. The COVID thing was kind of starting to go on. So I got into this house and I was living in it. I was fixing it up. And at the time when I bought it, my margins, I think were, pretty minimal. I was thinking oh man, if I could flip this thing and make, $25,000, looking back, it's I put 6 months of time and labor into this thing. I don't know if making 25 grand was really a slam, but at the time it was something. It was better than whatever other 9 to 5 I was working on. So yeah, we got into that deal, and when it was right at the start of COVID. And so it probably had been a year. I had lived in there. It was all fixed up. It was pretty much ready. And the market, as you guys know, it absolutely skyrocketed. Yeah. So I had the time, had my license. I started looking at some comps, and my house went from being, worth $190,000, $200,000 to all of a sudden it's worth, $30,000 more. Well, at the time for a 24-year-old kid, an extra 30 grand, jackpot, you know? Yeah. So I put that
some trouble with that kind of money.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, it was a long-term play. It was a year-long flip. And then I had gotten it, I had sold it. And yeah, I think I ended up making $60,000 on it, my first one ever. And I was hooked, right? Yeah. The line was in, I made some money. I'm I found it. I found the hack. Yeah. I'm doing this forever.
So how did you get that first flip? Was it just money you'd saved up, or did you what kind of stuff did you do to get to save up to do that first deal?
Yeah, so that's actually hilarious you brought that up here. So I've always been growing up, I've always been this pickup guy. I don't know if you saw what I pulled up in here now. I've always just been like this big 2500. That's like just part of my personality was having a big pickup. So I was working just a 9-to-5 job here in town when I was looking at getting ready to buy this place. And it was a HUD foreclosure and it was a local agent in town. And pre-COVID, right? It was not a lot was moving. It wasn't near like it is now where stuff was just flying off the shelf. And so I was looking at this house and I think I needed, God, it had to have been $25,000, $30,000 down, something like that to get into this place. And the only thing I had to my name that was worth any money at all was this pickup of mine. And so it was painstaking. I had to put this thing up for sale and I was like, dude, this thing is going to be so worth it. So I've sold this pickup. I cashed out 25, 30, whatever it was. I sold it to put the money down to buy this house. And the whole year long I was working on this house, I had like a 1999 Chevy Lumina, this old beater. My ego was so hurt.
And you need a pickup to like haul materials and stuff.
So you see me leaving Menards with flooring strapped to the roof of this thing, trying to get materials for the project, whatever it takes to make it, and it was one of those things that was like, you know what, if I'm not willing to live for a year, just take a step back from my lifestyle, as a long-term play, I clearly am caring too much about what people think. And now 4 years have passed and, the path that I'm on now, I'm so fortunate that I did that thing because that was like such a kickstart for me to get going. And was it easy? Was it fun? Was it glorious? Every time I had to pull up to the bar in that thing, I was like, I hate my life.
So knowing what you know now, would you have done it the exact same way or would you have taken a different route to like save up to get that first deal?
Honestly, my favorite saying, and I got it from my dad, he said, the best time to buy real estate is yesterday. So whatever it took at that time, if that was the quickest way I could have came up with that money to get into it, I'm glad I did it that way. Nice. I mean, because working a 9-to-5, if you're only making 40 or 50,000 a year to save up 30 grand, I mean, that's years of saving, and that's if you don't have any credit card debt, if you don't have a car payment, if you don't have any college debt. I mean, people don't realize it's such the barrier of entry to get into these house flipping projects and it's not impossible, but it really, really, really just takes a lot more than people think. Yeah. So if that was my quickest route to do it, I'm sure glad I did.
Awesome.
What about like any FHA or a 3% down or one of those 203K loans? Like, do you see many people using, I know those are more for like owner occupied longer term and stuff, but could a person use like a low down payment mortgage or something like that to do like a live-in flip?
I would assume you could. I've never done one myself. I think you guys are probably a little more versed in that than me. But the hard part is now, and you know it better than anybody, you got to find that deal first. And if a deal pops up on the open market, there's already 12 other guys that are looking at it. So I really struggle with this idea of being like, oh yeah, you just got to come up and because the idea of it makes sense. I totally get that. Yeah. But to find that deal is just getting tougher and tougher. There's so many guys that want to do it. And I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not. There's new investors every day. I hate to give too much of a false impression to guys like, you just got to save $5,000 and you're in, because sometimes I think there's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there definitely is. And like every house is different too. Like everyone, like maybe that one won't pass FHA or maybe that one, there's 20 competitor buyers and you'll get bid out or something. Or maybe that's just not the right deal with numbers. So like that won't even work as a flip because you're overpaying. But yeah, like the best deals are the ones you can get off market, buy cash, quick close, like solve someone's problem and you get rewarded for the problem you're solving. But yeah, I mean, just starting out, I love that. Like, do what you got to do. Sell your baby if you have to. Not your literal baby. But
that's an important distinction.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. But man, that is so indicative of a lot of entrepreneurs. Like they are willing to sacrifice like their physical things or status symbols or their time or like sometimes their health. Like, like I'm freaking losing all my hair on top of my head from real estate game probably. But I mean, that's just, I think they call it delay of gratification where you're like, I'm going to live well below my means and bust my ass now so that in 2 years I'm set up real nice. But that's awesome, man. Congrats on that big first deal. Like not everyone makes money on their first flip either, but
it's been real luck here. And we've talked about this off camera too before, but another thing I'd be remiss if I didn't mention too, but it's like whatever unfair advantage that you have, don't be afraid to use that too. And that's why I go back to like being able to lean on my dad and having a guy who's done this and have that experience. But imagine having no one or very minimal contacts thinking, okay, well, I'm I'm going to try and find this deal, try and scramble cash
Yeah.
and try and put it together. I mean, it would be really hard. It really would. I mean, I leaned so much on a guy like my dad of, he walked through that thing 12 times with me, and every time, boy, am I doing the right thing here? I hope I'm not messing up. So I want to make sure and note too that
if you're in that situation, check out Millionaire Misfits podcast.
Yeah. We're telling you all of the secrets right here.
Yeah.
But that's one thing, like legit watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, but they can be kind of your unfair advantage if you're just willing to be obsessed with your profession, like obsessed with learning about house flipping. Kind of why we wanted to start this and give back to that like community of knowledge where if you bring a good product, if you have a good podcast and it helps people, like there's always room for you and your podcast. So like every guest we have on, we're asking questions like just like that. How'd you get started? How did you use your unfair advantage? Because you're not winning any prizes by being stubborn and not leaning on your resources, like do it, like make your life better, use any resource you have legally,
Growing up then, did you ever have like that mentality of like watching your dad do that and be like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like that sounds boring. Like, did you ever have that, or was it always kind of like, wow, my dad's like got this really cool lifestyle and like,
I always thought
was interested.
Real estate for me was always going to be a secondary thing. I always knew I wanted to have rental properties and that kind of just be like a secondary deal flow.
Okay.
But I actually wanted to, I have a degree in precision agriculture, crazy enough. I wanted to farm. Yeah. And then now I'm flipping houses or whatever. But so the rental properties I always knew were second. And so I thought I was going to farm, and the way it played out, it just wasn't going to be feasible for me. But real estate was always kind of that close second thing. I mean, I knew it provided a good lifestyle. I saw the flexibility that it gave. So after I'd kind of bounced around and tried a couple things, I was like, this will be an easy decision to get in. So like I said, it took a little time to get going there, but I knew as a long-term play, it was going to work. I mean, I wasn't willing to not let it work. Like it didn't matter. I was going to do it. I was
make it work.
Yeah. That's super cool though. Cause a lot of people, like that's another thing that a lot of us talk about or we've talked about on this show already, is like a lot of people, like failing wasn't an option. It's just like, I'm going to make this work. And I think that's like a good is the right word, but
it's like an inspiration of people.
Yeah. It's like an important thing to touch on, or like an important mindset to like kind of be aware of like, I'm doing this because I want to do this. And I'm like, failure's not an option. So that's super cool.
I'm just too competitive. Like if I just see other guys doing it, I'm like, there's no way these guys are any smarter. Like no offense to anybody else, but no way they're any smarter than me. And some of these guys, I mean, we know guys in Fargo that are multi-million. I mean, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm like, there's no way that can't be. I got to try it. I got to at least give it all I can.
Yeah.
So, you hear a couple stories of guys that have accumulated that wealth over, 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, but it's hustle and just time, like you just put that effort in every day. You have the right vehicle, like business or real estate, and you just put the time in. And as long as you're not a complete idiot and make crazy gambles, the fundamentals are not difficult to learn, and you don't have to be a genius. Like a lot of people say they have more balls than brains in real estate. And I think that's a pretty good strategy,
Yeah.
Works for me.
You're at it long enough, you'll get a little strike of luck every once in a while too.
Right. Yeah.
Take a little of that and off you go.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
So how long of a gap was it between when you graduated and like started doing the real estate?
So I went to college for 2 years, got my precision ag degree. So I obviously graduated 18, a couple years. I was probably 20 years old. And then I had bounced around between Grand Forks, and then I made my way to Fargo, was working some couple jobs here in Fargo. So 18 to 24. So I guess probably 5-6-ish years before I ended up getting my license. So, which was great. I mean, obviously the earlier you can start, the better, but kind of bouncing around or whatever. It's just the more I did other things and they just weren't all that great, the more I come to like appreciate what I'm doing now, and getting into it. So I bounced around for a little bit, but it brought me right back to here. So worked out all right.
So did you do real estate and stuff in Grand Forks, or you came to Fargo then started real estate?
No. So I mean, I had my 2 years of precision ag. So I thought I was going to farm. I was working for a farm construction company in Grand Forks. We have a family farm up by the Canadian border, and I had always thought I was going to make my way back up there. By Candu, North Dakota, if you have any idea where that is. It's central North Dakota.
I was just curious. I grew up in Brett, so I was like,
oh, sure.
Canadian border.
Minnesota side.
Yeah. So middle of nowhere, North Dakota. But I had bounced around, had like I said, a couple ag jobs in the Grand Forks area. And then I had came to Fargo and was working just some nonsense jobs here, and then I was like, all right, I'm getting sick of all this other stuff. Let's buy a house. Let's figure it out. Got the house, got the license, and then kind of took off from there.
Off to the races.
races.
That's so awesome. So today, can you tell us like how many houses you're flipping a year, or like what kind of profit margin you shoot for? And are you doing any of the work yourself? I'm just going to ask you like 30 questions. You're going to have to remember all these.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just going to rattle them all off. And then the last one is like, how does being a realtor or broker, like how does that pair well with flipping?
Yeah. So I'll kind of go reference back to when I first got my license. I was kind of running off to the races or whatever. So I'd bought in that first house and I lived in it and I had made some money on it. I did another live-in flip after that. And then it was like 2023, middle of 2023, somewhere around there. I just went off to the race. I just said, you know what? This is working. I had done a few deals that had worked. I'm just going to go hog wild. So I think I ended up flipping like 15 houses in a year, which is an absurd number for a guy that barely knew what he was doing.
That's amazing.
I mean, I was just going batshit crazy. So, you know, some of them worked really well, some of them barely worked, and some of them didn't work at all.
Yeah.
So it was really a great learning curve for me to go through a lot of those things. And so that's where I kind of come back to 2025 here, where I'm really like, all right, you've been off the chains, you've been wild, you've tried all these things. Now it's time to really laser in on what you're good at, what you know consistently works, and just do as many of those as you can. So this year in 2025, kind of my goal, I would love to do 5 to 10 flips. And then another big thing that I haven't really referenced much, you know, being a licensed broker as well. I opened up my own real estate brokerage. So I have an agent working with me now. I'm looking to pick up some more licensed agents. So alongside of the 5 to 10 house flips I do, I would love to do 10 to 20 just regular residential sales. So that's a huge part of my income that I don't have to spend a lot of money to make money, right? You know, being a realtor, you're just showing houses, signing paper. Big part of selling houses this year, but the houses that I am doing, so I just got under contract my second one for the year, but a great goal for each one that I would love to make 50,000 plus on each one. Granted, that's not always feasible. I would say that's probably a home run of a flip. I've done grand slams where I've made a little more, but I mean, you can do some pretty quick mental math. You do 5 to 10 flips at 50,000 a piece. That's a pretty good living.
Yeah.
And, you know, another one of your questions you had asked was, do I do a lot of the work myself? I can lie to you, I don't hardly have to do much anymore. I'm pretty spoiled. I have a crew of guys that, you know, really it's taken some years to develop and get to know these guys and make sure everybody works really good together. But I am so spoiled now. I mean, this last project we did, it literally took me 10 days and I got the house under contract. I knew exactly what needed to be done. I said, if we close at 9 a.m. on a Friday, an hour later, I got guys in there working and it's like boom, 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 boom. Nice. I mean, and when you have a system, you have a setup, you have materials already. I mean, it just makes it, I don't want to say that easy, but it makes it very easy.
But that's the goal, right? Is like build yourself out of the business. Like that's kind of what a lot of people really should work towards or want to work towards anyways. But
yes,
so that's awesome that you're doing that.
Well, some of my, you know, I don't want to say idols, but mentors or guys that I've watched in town, you know, the biggest house flipper in town, he didn't even live here anymore. He's chilling in Scottsdale, just living. He's got 2 guys like me running around running his projects, and I'm, you know, pretty decent acquaintances with those guys, but it's the same thing, right? A lot of trial and error and a lot of just honestly balls at times just to give it out there and give it a go. And I mean, he's done fantastic. And now it's like, that's really what I aspire to be in the next however many years, is to be able to just have that crew that's basically self-sufficient. Yeah. And then you can kind of just be off doing what you do. But for now, I'm loving the chase and I'm loving the grind, and I'm just loving continuing to learn, right? All these deals. I mean, I'm over here probably sounding like I'm on a high horse. I'm not perfect. I guarantee there'll be a deal where I'll be like, damn, that sucked.
Of course.
I'm not immune from a bad deal.
Right.
But I'm just trying so hard to just hold on to those B+ deals and just rock with those. Like I said, even if I only get 5, you know, I would way rather do 5 deals at 50,000 a piece than running like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to do 15, and then you make basically the same amount of money. It's like, well, what was the point in any of that? You know, it sounds great to say you did that many, but I don't care. I'm looking at the dollar amount, you know, I don't care if I do 2 or 20.
So how many of these fixer-uppers that you're finding are you wanting to try and keep as like burrs or rentals?
I would love to keep as many as I can. The hard part for me, and I'm sure you're running into the same issue, is getting a lot of these to cash flow are just requiring a ridiculous amount of money down. Yeah. So, you know, you look at a house, and I'll just give you an example of one of the last deals we did. So what I always grew up was always just hitting the 1%. Easy numbers, you know, you have a house for $100,000. If you can get $1,000 worth of rent, your 1% pretty much is going to cash flow. Well, that's not hardly the case anymore. You know, you're getting some of these specials and some of these property taxes are getting so high. And then not to mention, you know, a lot of commercial interest rates are at 7-8%. Yeah. Well, geez, you know, some of these houses that I've got 175 grand into and it might be worth 225, I might have 50 grand in equity. Well, I go to the bank and try and rent it and they say, well, if you're only going to get $1,500 or $1,600 a month rent, you were only financing 120. Well, I got to come up with that $55,000 difference on a $175,000 house. And it's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it just takes, you know, obviously it goes back to are you willing to save up? Are you willing to put that money aside? Are you willing to maybe not drive a new pickup every year? Because that's what it's going to take to start building some of these. You know, the ones that I have found and the ones that I've been able to keep, I mean, I'm talking like, I got to get them dirt cheap, like $75,000. You buy this crummy house, you piece it back together, you know, to get it to that 120, 125. And then if you can get the $1,500 a month rent, you can make it work. But as far as like finding anything that's you've got almost 200,000 into, I can't hardly make any of that stuff work. I don't know if you're seeing those. I'm assuming you're seeing the same numbers as me.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I have switched is deciding to try and put them on Airbnb. Like the only way to cover that high PITI is Airbnb income, but then you're furnishing it with 15 grand worth of furniture and then you're operating a short-term rental, which takes a lot more time and effort too. So that's, I mean, like that's the only way. I'm like, either I put a lot more down, I get a screaming deal, which is rare. And I don't want to be pumping money into these burrs just to keep it for a long-term rental. So I'm like, the best I can do is either flip it or keep it as a short-term Airbnb and then cover the mortgage with that. And it's a lot harder to predict how a property will perform on Airbnb. You know, like it's more of economy based and not like, you know, like the local rent market based too. So it's a little bit riskier. And if your short-term rentals take a dive, then you have 15,000 worth of furniture in there and then you're forced to sell and then you'll make your money on your flip then, but then you got 15K worth of furniture that's now worth 5 or whatever. So it's like, it has to make sense over like a 3-4 year span because the extra cash flow has to pay for the furniture and then you can start counting it as cash flow. So that's the only way that I've been able to make it work is either flipping and then reinvesting all that into more marketing, but keep it as a short-term rental.
Yeah. You know, and I'm still a believer of anything that I can make work. I feel like I made it sound like I'm not holding on. I'm still trying. If I can make something cash flow by $100 a month, if the bank will let me do it, I'm going to do it. Right. Because our best friend right now is time. And, you know, I've looking at houses that I've owned for 3-4 years now, you know, those pre-COVID numbers. And at the time, you know, I remember thinking, oh man, and you'll hear that with guys now, oh, I'm just paying top dollar for this thing. And I'm like, if you'll just wait 5 years, you're going to be so glad you own this thing. We can sit here and complain all we want now. And like I'm doing about mortgage interest rates and all this stuff. And it's like, if I can just make it work, I don't care how little that margin is. If I can make it work, you're going to do it. And in 20 years, I'll be sure dang glad I did.
Right. Yeah. Because it opens up the doors to sell them in little pods of like 5 or 10 properties. And then you can 1031 that and stuff. So your options are way more. Plus you get all that appreciation too. And it will appreciate as soon as like rates go down, people will start buying a shit ton more. And then like all these buyers that are just waiting for home to become more affordable, like that's not happening. You know, like prices are just going to keep going up and rates will probably, maybe they'll go down a little bit, but the more you can keep, the more you can refi when rates drop a point or two down the road too. So, I mean, I'm thinking if I can get 5 or 10 Airbnbs or cash flowing well, sure, I have a bunch into furniture, but hopefully like I get reimbursed. Hopefully like the burr, like overage money from the burr pays for all of our furniture. Like that's ideal. But I mean, after a year or two of having them operating like that, the appreciation will be up more, the debt reduction will be down, and you'll be able to like sell them off in a group. That's kind of like the play right now.
The safest thing that I can sleep at night, you know, thinking about is most of the houses that I dabble in are all right around that 200, 250 is probably pushing it. But I know it's like, even if I got one of these deals and I'm barely making it work, something hits the fan, you can move a $200,000 house in Fargo if it's decent, right? I'm not talking a dump, but if you've got a decent $200,000 house, it's going to sell just like that. I mean, people, it goes back to your point of, you know, people will waiting for houses to drop or whatever, but everyone can afford a $200,000 mortgage. I mean, this last, 2 of the last projects that I did, one I had last year in specific, it was right at the end of 2024 at a little house in West Fargo, 2-bed, 1-bath, 850 square feet. So tiny. It's a tiny little house. Had a nice detached 2-stall in the back or whatever. It was aftermarket. That was kind of the focal point of the whole deal. I listed this thing at 189. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I like to list a little low. I do like to get these things going or whatever. I had 9 offers on this thing. Ended up running up to $225,000. And it's like, I don't necessarily think the house is worth $225,000, but if that's what people can afford, then that's what it's worth.
Well,
And
you
it
know?
appraised out.
Yeah, it appraised out. I mean, unbelievable.
Wow.
But like I said, after countless deals like that of these little pockets of $200,000 homes I've done, I'm like, honestly, man, if I need to turn this thing, if something hits the fan, whatever, they're going to move.
Yeah.
So that's a really comforting feeling for me. And it's not the most glorious thing dealing with $200,000 houses. Everybody loves the big fancy $500,000 ones, these flips that are spectacular before and afters, but you can probably vouch for this too. Probably some of the best flips you've ever had are putting paint and laying carpet down. You know, you didn't have to do this Taj Mahal project.
No. Rarely is the profit margin for me attached to like the dollar amount. Like it's just random, really. Like I made 90 grand. This one that already had like seamless steel siding, fascia soffit gutters and windows all done. And the inside just needed paint, flooring, some cosmetic stuff. It just ended up being a great deal and it appreciated a bunch over COVID and stuff too. But like that one, and then I've done a couple other ones that were just like marginal deals, but you know, they were like lower price tags or higher price tags. So it's just been random for me, but I've never even dabbled in fixer uppers over, I think my highest sale price on a flip was a little over 300. And I'm like, getting into that price range is just like, you're looking at longer holding times and more like picky buyers and harder for disposition. So I'm like, well, I just follow all the advice I've learned on podcasts and from other professionals, like stay in that first time home buyer budget and they'll sell.
Yeah. Talking about those higher range, I'll share this with you guys or whatever, because I feel like sometimes I'm making it sound like it's too easy here. The worst flip I ever had, I did a project in Fergus Falls. This is about the time I thought I could do everything and I was king of the world here.
Yeah.
So I tried to flip a house in a market I didn't know, got way in over my price range. And we tried to sell this thing for like $425, sat for like 6 months. Holding costs are like $5,000 a month. Just any little margin I had just got absolutely torched. Ended up selling this thing for like $375. Long story short, lost 60 grand.
Dang.
Worst flip of I thought for sure, I was like, I'm cooked, man. This is the end of me. But you dabble in some of those high price ones. Doesn't mean they can't work. There's guys who do high dollar flips all the time. But if you want to talk about just the safest and most consistent, it's absolutely going to be that lower price range, that 200,
that
250.
First time home buyer.
They're just always going to move.
The biggest demand pool. Like that's the bigger buyer pool. Like
always.
Yeah. And there's always going to be someone wanting it out of an apartment. If you look at apartment rates versus mortgage rates at that price point, they'd rather, if it's the same apples to apples price monthly for their housing, they're going to move over to a house and start getting equity.
You're talking like mortgage versus rent?
Yeah, exactly. So when you're flipping houses and stuff and you're looking at your ARVs and you run numbers as if you're the buyer, you're like, okay, if I put 3% down on this $250,000 house, what's my mortgage going to be like? Put yourself in the shoes of your buyers. Then you can compare their PITI monthly payment to the rent that they would pay. And then you, in their shoes, kind of like examine their options and be like, well, it's actually cheaper to own this house I just flipped than it is to rent at the Lights or whatever, you know? So why not build equity? And there's always people looking to build equity.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping that cost as low as you can for them. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So are you finding a lot of your deals on market or off market or both? Or
everything that I've done probably since halfway through last year has been all off market. Okay. I mean, there is so many guys and I love it. I love other young investors and I'm sure you too, you get guys that always want to talk about it and they want to do it, and that's fantastic. If there was a house that popped up for $150,000 that maybe were to have some margin on MLS, it'd have 7 offers on it in 2 days. Yeah. And any idea of making any money on it is basically gone. At that point, it's only going to work for somebody who's willing to like live in it. You're going to do all the work yourself, blah, 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 blah. But if you're just going to be a straight outside investor, you've got your crews, you just can't do it cheap enough. It's almost not possible. So the off-market deal for me has been fantastic, and it's tough, right? I mean, it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, you just find the deals. Yeah. Like they magically just pop in your lap.
Just find the deals.
Yeah, just find the deals. I mean, you're out there hitting every avenue you can, you know, and I'm doing the same thing, whether that's social media, whether that's some paid advertising. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever it takes for you to find that deal, you're just going to have to. I don't care if you got to go door knocking. I got guys putting flyers indoors, you know, and it's like,
Eric talks about that all the time.
Door knocking. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. You're right. You're definitely right. Especially if you're new. A lot of us older guys been doing it for a while, don't want to go door knocking, don't want to do that grindy stuff anymore. And we probably won't because we don't have to. If you're brand new, that might be your unfair advantage. You got a ton of time. You're willing to do some stuff that someone else like us, like maybe we're like beyond that a little bit. We got money to throw at Facebook ads or Google ads.
How did you find your first deal?
Well, my very first house that I did, it was actually on market. So that was like pre-COVID, you know, before things really went crazy here. And then through the, you know, that year I was kind of going crazy. I was bouncing around down. I found some on market, found some off market, but now I've just kind of developed just a pool of off market leads, and I can kind of just keep going back and forth. And then usually at that point, something pops up. And now I do a lot of paid advertising, which, goes back to, so, if time is your unfair advantage, you're going to have to put your ego aside and you're going to have to go knock on the doors.
Yeah.
It's horrible. People are going to hate you. They're probably going to slam their, the door in your face. But if that's what you got to do, if you're truly committed to doing it, then, you're just going to have to.
And like Eric, you even talked about too, it's like, if a flip makes you $50,000, are you saying if all you got to go do is knock on 100 doors to make 50 grand?
Yeah. What's stopping you?
Yeah.
And for like me, and I think Eric's probably kind of in the same pool here. You got guys like that who got all the time in the world. And then you got guys, the bigger guys in town. I've had pretty decent luck. I've got some billboards around town. I don't know if you guys have seen those. They kind of vary. I'll pick some up, the digital ones. I have one on the interstate that I leave all the time. I'm back going on at the lights, and it's super cheesy, but I tell you, it is hilarious though when somebody's like, dude, I saw you up there. Like, you're buying houses? I'm like, yes, I am.
You got a house? Oh, no, I don't have a house.
No. But I saw you though.
Yeah.
But even a couple of them, they're like, oh, well, I didn't have a house, but my grandma's got a house. Would you be interested in looking at it? And I'm like, yeah. Why not? So in my mind, it goes back to the same thing you just said. If you knock on 100 houses, you get one deal and you make a bunch of money on it. I'm the same way. I'm like, okay, well, I've spent X amount of dollars on billboards or on Facebook ads, or I was even doing TV commercials for God's sake. And it's like, well, if I can just get basically one deal off of that advertising and make that margin, dude, for 50 grand, you can do a lot of advertising for that. I mean, I can be on billboards all year for that, So really it's like, once you get to that point where you have the money, you have the capacity to throw it at it, I'm like, well, it's worth a shot.
So people like just starting out, what is like the best way for them to kind of like use, whatever little amount of money they have now? Let's say finding a first deal. Like if I have $1,000 to $5,000 and I'm trying to find that first deal, like what would you guys recommend as like the best way to just go do that? Is it just whatever, door knocking, mailers, all that stuff?
If you've only got 1,000 to 5,000, you're better off just networking like this guy does. This guy's a machine. And I think dude, it's
Tom's
insane.
just a chatty Cathy. That's all I am.
I keep talking about I want to do more social media advertising, and anytime I get on Facebook, this guy's on there going out, and I'm like, dude, I can't even keep up with this guy. But really, if you're just minimalistic on the money for the year, network, just start talking to people, start talking to real estate agents. Talking is free, and just talk to anybody who will listen and tell them what you're looking for. You're way better off doing that than trying to say I have $1,000 to throw at whatever.
So it's probably better spent towards the deal than it is trying to advertise or something like that in the beginning.
Absolutely. And I love what Eric said about, if that's your unfair advantage is you have time right now, that's what you got to do. Yeah. Don't even be thinking about the money. Be out there just talking and looking. That's all you can do.
Love that. That's great advice. Yeah, it's free. Like, why wouldn't, like what Gary Vee always says, like, why wouldn't you be all over Facebook and Instagram? Like, it's free eyeballs.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to rack up like 2,000-3,000 like followers or friends on Facebook, like
some people get so intimidated or whatever. They're like, oh, I'm embarrassed to be on there, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like this, I'm like, okay, so what is every single one of us doing every night when we get home?
Yep.
Scrolling.
You're scrolling constantly. It's almost brain rot to that point. And it's like, okay, we've all come across somebody talking, and it's like the minute you've gone past it, if you didn't find what they said interesting, you don't ever think about it again. No. And people are like, oh, if I post a video and it's embarrassing, they might be like laughing at me all night. It's like, no one is thinking that.
Yeah.
Just, it's literally free. Be out there saying whatever you want to say, be looking for deals. And why not? The more you can continue to stay in front of people, you just have to be top of mind when that right person comes along and they're looking for what you're either selling or buying. Yeah. It's just that continuation.
I've gotten a lot of deals by doing free stuff. Like word of mouth, people that I've just been friends with for years, they're like, oh, you're into flipping houses, huh? My coworker's husband has this house that he's had since his first marriage, and he actually has been letting it sit there for 20 years, and he's finally ready to sell it. I'm like, can I come take a look at it? And I end up buying it. You never know when a random connection will have another random connection, will have a random life occurrence, and then that will be a deal for you. Your network. I've listed little free ads on Craigslist or like the Nextdoor app saying like, I'll buy houses. And like I've gotten deals that way randomly, but it's just free. Like what does it hurt? It doesn't hurt anything except maybe your ego to post something on Facebook saying like, oh, I'm looking for fixer-uppers, guys. Once you do one deal or even just educate yourself, like that's also free. You look a lot more legitimate if you've done your education and you've done one deal. But even if you haven't, you can still make it happen, just pure hustle.
The Craigslist is crazy. You're that guy on Misconnections looking for somebody.
We locked eyes at the Guns N' Roses concert.
I like though for Eric, it'd be like this big, like, you know, like you were in a blue sweatshirt and we locked eyes and all this stuff. I'm curious if I can buy your house.
I was the guy wearing a yellow shirt that said I buy houses on the back.
I love advertising, man. You know, talking about people being embarrassed or whatever. The funniest one I ever did, it was probably last year's football season. It was the game when Aaron Rodgers tore his ACL that very first game. That was the first Monday Night Football game. Dude, I made the cheesiest commercial you've ever seen in your life, dude. It was literally me, just camera straight on looking at me, 30 seconds of me just like, I'm buying your house, I'm paying you cash, aired right. It was literally like the first commercial of the first Monday Night Football. So I knew everybody was going to see this thing, right?
Wild.
Oh, absolutely. So went on there, dude, my phone blew up, dude.
Really?
I had like 20 Snapchats of people like, look at this idiot on here. Bro. I had people, random people were sending me emails like, dude, dumbass. Swear to God.
Keep those.
Flamed me.
Oh,
I was like, bro, I was like, this was so worth it. I was like, you know what? For $1,000 to get in front of half the state, I was like, that was the best $1,000 I ever spent.
Yeah.
That was only $1,000?
Yeah, literally.
I gotta do one now.
Dude, if I see you on, I'll send you an anonymous email too. This guy sucks.
I'm gonna do a parody of you. I'll just do exactly like just the exact same one you did.
I would expect nothing less, but it is, you know, you can get creative out there and it is, it's a lot of fun if you can just put the ego aside.
Put the ego aside. Yep, exactly. And just don't worry about it. Like, what if it was fun? Like, well, what if you didn't care? That's kind of what I do. Like, what if there's a version of me that doesn't give a shit? Can I grow into that person? Like, probably. Can I like post a bunch of stuff on Facebook and just click send and then go for a run so I don't have to think about it for an hour and then it's too late? Like, burn the ships is kind of like what I do. I just do things and then like, well, it's done. So I guess I got to deal with the consequences.
You know, and if I have to look foolishness now for a few years and I build myself, I guarantee if this thing pays off in 5-10 years, I'll be like, dude, screw all you guys that did made fun of me. We're like, oh, Joe's never going to make this thing work.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting there on a pile of cash, I'm like, you guys can just suck it. So that's that, the competitive side of me where I'm just like, dude, I'm going to make this thing work. I don't care what I got to do.
It's working. Like, I mean, it's obviously working. So like whatever it takes, like I don't think there's any wrong way to do it unless it's like obviously like illegal or you're scamming people or whatever, but
don't do that. Don't scam people.
There's no wrong answers. You just go out there and like, if you have a competitive advantage, you use it. If you have a great attitude, like, well, keep it up. If you networking is your thing, if you just like talking to people and you're just generally excited about like being able to change your life with one deal, like that's my whole jam. I love talking to people. I'm like, sure, you have 1 million units. That's cool. But can you inspire a few people to go out and do their first deal? And then that will put them on a different trajectory in their whole life. If I just stopped at my first deal, it would have changed my life for the better. Like, I don't know, like 20%. Like that's wild. Just one property, like my first FHA loan deal, So that's kind of my whole jam is just getting out there, talking to people, use that excitement, whatever energy compels you to go after your goals. People love that. It's contagious. What Brandon Turner was so good at on his podcast, he was just genuinely excited about real estate investing and how it could change people's lives. And that's what we kind of want to convey here, with a little bit of Misfits style on our brand.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome, man. So how many rentals do you have? How many long-term rentals are you up to right now?
Just a handful. I'm holding on to 5 of them here in town, and it's all those
small but mighty.
Just a grinder to get onto, man. They're just brutal. And but anything, if you can just hold on to them, that's really all you can do. They're barely cash flowing, and believe me, it was just yesterday I had a bay window leaking from all this snow and whatever, and it's like, well, it doesn't cash flow $500 a month, but here I'm spending $500 fixing the stupid window, So, but really long term, I mean, I even look at it like this, right? Okay, so say you never have 1 million units, say you get, let's just say 10 for an easy number, right? You have 10 rentals in today's dollars at $1,500 a month. In 15 years, you're looking at 20 years when they're paid for. That's $15,000 a month in passive income. Yeah, there's real estate taxes. Yeah, there's a couple other things into that. But as far as like just a overall great retirement, I mean, I know guys that have worked for companies for 35 years and they have a $4,000 a month pension. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's my worst case scenario is I go work for Pepsi or, Amazon and that's my retirement. And I go, well, why would I not at bare minimum at least just do this? And if you get 20, 30, 40, 50, even better. I think it's a much better way and a much better lifestyle for me of what I want to have. It's just going to let me accomplish that much easier having these. So if I can just hold them, I'm just going to do that.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, you could just accumulate 4 or 5 now, and then you could quit and those would all be paid off eventually, that could be a retirement fund. But every one you do, you get a little bit better. You get a little bit more experience and you understand the game a little bit better. So it becomes easier and easier and easier. So like, why would you ever stop? You know, like, and the deals come easier and easier as you build a brand and a reputation around town. So it's like, it's one of those things where it scales up. And the theory behind like flips and burrs, all those numbers work on bigger properties too. It's just an added zero behind the end of the number.
Just a bigger scale.
Yeah. So really, like, that's what I love about entrepreneurship and real estate in general, is because you're at your day job, you're not learning skills, you're not doubling your income every 5 years. But in real estate, that's plenty possible.
Yeah. I mean, I worked same position same industry for over a decade. And it was, a raise here and there. And nobody wanted to take the time to teach me what I wanted to know. Like, it was all, even then, what I learned, it was all by doing the job or looking into things on my own. And, I know you guys do the same thing, but you're doing it for a direct transaction of like, hey, I'm putting this work in to make myself money, or I'm doing this work to build something of my own. Hey, I'm going to go work 60 hours a week to build this
make someone else
company.
rich.
Yeah. Like,
screw that.
So yeah, no, that stuff's awesome to see.
Yeah, no, and power to those guys that are out there doing it. When I first came to Fargo, I actually worked for the City of Fargo Public Works, which crazy, nothing to do with anything else I was here talking about or whatever. But I'm still really good friends with some of those coworkers from there. And, I don't want to belittle like, oh, you work somewhere 30 years, you get your pension. Because, those are the guys that are out there plowing snow at 4 a.m. And I appreciate the hell out of that. Yep. So I love those guys. It's fantastic what they do. But as a young guy for myself, I was like, well, I said, if my worst case scenario is just coming back and doing exactly what I'm doing right now, then I got to just give this thing a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you always have a W-2 job to fall back on too. Like, if you ever wanted to, you could just be a realtor your whole life, or you could, that's even a business in itself, but like, you could always go and work for a Pepsi or something like that. It's never gone, like, that's what I always used to tell myself when I first started. I'm like, sure, I'm taking this big risk and I'm trying to be an entrepreneur and stuff, but like, worst case scenario, I just go back to my job and be like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Can you take me back?
Snap of fingers, you'd be
they'd
back.
take me, dude. Of course they'd take me back. They love good workers. But I'm like, if I'm busting my ass making $60K and I'm like really putting in work and I'm doing great work, I could work for myself that hard and that smart and do way better.
Mm-hmm.
Like way more limits on a W-2 job. And I don't know, just being like an angsty little baby the way I am, I don't want to waste my time. I want to fulfill my potential, and I get angry if I feel like I'm wasting my life or like wasting opportunities. You have to be able to not need the money you invest.
Yeah. And you have to know your position too, right? I mean, if you got a wife and 2 kids at home and you're like, okay, maybe I probably not in a great position to risk it all on the line here right now. If you're young and you got nothing else going on, it's like, hey, well, $1,000, whatever, give it a whirl.
Swing for the fences when you're young and you have nothing to lose. Yeah, exactly. You have all the energy and all the time, and people want to pour in knowledge. Like, older investors will 100% sit down. If you buy them lunch, buy them a drink or whatever, they'll like give you all the advice you want. They love it because like, you're a young guy, you're hustling. You remind them of themselves when they were young, and I've had tons of guys be like, oh yeah, go ahead. Like, why are you helping me? And they're like, because that's what I was doing when I was your age. Like, too many people are lazy. The kids these days, they don't know how to work. Like, that's the problem with your generation.
I laugh at myself. That's why I'm giving you a hard time, because I go, well, I'm 28. So I go, I think my youth card is slowly running out here. But really, use it to your advantage. There are guys out there that exactly like you said, hey, I was in your shoes, what can I do to help? It doesn't mean they're going to give you something, but even if it's just advice.
You go out and you ask somebody like, hey, do you want to sit down? Do you want to share any advice with me? Like, whatever it is. If they say no, you're just the exact same as where you were before you asked the question. It's not like hurting you in some detrimental way to go put yourself out there. Like you were saying, Eric does. Go out and network.
Go bother people. That's what I do.
Worst case scenario, if it doesn't go anywhere, then you're right where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love sitting down with some of those bigger guys. I'm just fascinated. Those guys that have really made it, they make my problems look so small. Like if I were to tell them a problem that I have, they'd be like, that's not a problem. Like what you're going through is so minimal. Like hearing those guys, and it's insane to me. I love watching it, and it inspires me, right? You can always want to be better. I want to be to that next level. And I can sit here like, oh, I got it figured out, but there is so much more I want to learn and so much more I want to continue to do.
Yeah. You can always grow, and like, that's the thing is like this, the second you think you know everything is like, well, you're probably going to lose a lot because there's always room to grow. There's always like a bigger project or something. But a lot of it's internal work too, like just getting over, like you said, getting over the ego, getting out of your own way, go knock on some doors. You're actually helping people. You're going to annoy some people, probably be a little inconvenienced, ignore ignore those people, but the person you buy a house from actually is benefiting a ton from you bailing them out of a crappy situation.
Yeah.
So like if you have sat down with enough sellers at their kitchen table and done deals, you'll know like they're grateful. They're really happy. Their house is in shambles. We don't want to pay real estate commissions, or we don't want the embarrassment of 20 showings or whatever. Like we don't want to put this online. We just want some guy who seems like an honest fellow who will give us a fair deal for this fixer-upper, and they're happy with that. They understand you're an investor. You're actually helping people. And whenever I do cold calling or door knocking, which is not a lot anymore, but I'll remind myself that like once I hit that person that I end up buying from, it's helping them. So it's a good driver.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is.
So speaking of learning and growing and all that stuff. So one thing that we really like to ask people is for kind of like a Misfits moment and a Millionaire moment. So that first one being, what was like a Misfit moment for you where, got started in this and kind of didn't feel like maybe you belonged at first, or like kind of an outsider, or maybe you just had like a real struggle in the beginning where it was just like, oh man, like I don't know if what I'm doing or if I'm doing the right things or anything like that. Do you have like a moment kind of in the beginning that makes you think about that stuff?
I'm going to tell you, man, and it goes back to that ego, dude. I'm not kidding you. When I had to pull that Lumina up and load material, I literally was like, I suck, dude. This is horrible. People are laughing at me, dude. I'm just trying to strap this thing down and get it home.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it was a time I was like, it really made me second guess. Like, do you really want to do this?
Yeah.
Like, my ego hurt so bad. My fragile little ego, it was brutal. And that's probably a silly one answer to that. But really, that was a tough feeling for me. It was really just being like, okay, I really am taking a step back. I mean, and for me, that was a lot.
Yeah. But then looking back at it now, like when in this conversation, to me, it's kind of like a point of pride moment where you're like, that sucked, but I got through it and went on to do awesome things.
Yeah.
In the moment, you're not like, oh, this is going to be a cool story someday, but it can be.
So what was like a moment in your career where you like hit a goal that you'd been striving for a long time, or like kind of like okay, I did what I set out to do moment, or like I made it moment?
Yeah. What's your millionaire moment?
My millionaire moment. I don't know. I think I'll call it the best project I ever had. It was probably end of 2023, kind of around that madness when I was running like crazy, and I'd had a couple that worked, a couple that barely did, and a couple that really didn't. I finally was like, you know what? I need to just get one that's just like I just want to do a really good flip. I didn't know what that meant in my mind. I didn't know if that meant a certain number or a certain time frame. I was like, I just want to feel one that really just is like, what you're doing now, right? I mean, and granted, you're still a lot of learning or whatever from there, but I had bought in this house in West Fargo, and I remember I pulled up to the house and my biggest competitor was just walking out. And I remember being like, damn it, these guys are in there too. I don't know how they got that lead. I have no idea. It was an off market.
Dang.
And I remember thinking, I got to put my big boy pants on and I got to go in there and I got to give my best shot. And I went in there and I felt like I gave a pretty good presentation, and I gave him my number. And I remember I went home just thinking, boy, there's no way, because those guys intimidated me. They're flipping 50 houses a year. Looking back, I'm thinking, well, it's probably a good thing because they're probably really low ballers. They might have made me look better at the time, but I didn't know that. I wasn't thinking that way. Yeah. And so they called me back and they took my number. I was a little bit higher than them. And I'm like, all right, perfect. Off to a great start here. I remember going into that house and I thought, all right, what is literally the fastest, best way I can maximize my profit on this thing? And before, I had always tried to do the big before and afters, the big new cabinets, the big countertops, the windows. And I'm like, Joseph, you got to think about this. What is the maximum price point you can get this thing to where it's just going to be a feeding frenzy? And so I literally in 7 days, I did like carpet, paint, a new bathroom, like just very minimal cosmetic. I put this thing on the market. You guys know what houses are going for now. A 3-bed, 1-bath house in West Fargo with a detached garage and a fenced in yard. Everything bones on it were good. Put it up for $139,000. Dude, this thing had 65 showings in like 48. I mean, it was ungodly. I tell you, the neighbors literally called me. They're like, what is going on? They said, there has been people here every hour. People were coming in after the showing time shut down. It's like 10 p.m. It's dark out and people are still walking around this house. I had like 9 offers on the project. It went $35,000 over asking. It was a cash deal. And he was closing in 7 days. So I bought the house. I owned it for a total of 14 days and the project made 60 grand.
Holy cow.
I literally have never felt so good in my life. I was like, I didn't know how I was going to get this thing done, how it was going to work. But from what I had said at the beginning, I'm like, I just want to flip to go good. I just want start to finish. I want everything to go. And it did. It clicked.
Dang.
And that was like I'm going to do this for a long time now.
That's awesome.
This is a fantastic
How
deal.
satisfying is that too? I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Like everything actually works out for once and you're like, this is what it feels like when everything goes right. That's
Dang.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's wild.
It was a fantastic deal. And I got to make sure in case my dad happens to see this, I do got to give him credit. I leaned on him a lot during that time. And he was actually kind of the one that pushed me. Instead of doing the normal process that I always do, he's like, why don't you give this a try? He's like, I don't know your market, but he's like, this would work in Devil's Lake. He's like, I don't know why it wouldn't work over there. He's like, quit trying to Taj Mahal it. So we just did what we did and it worked good. And he's like, well, I should be getting a cut of that now, shouldn't I?
Good advice, Dad.
Yeah. So I think I still owe him for that one, but that was my millionaire moment.
That's
Dude,
awesome.
That's a great deal.
So I know I kind of alluded to this earlier, but for people that are just getting started out, what is like one thing that you would recommend them that they could go do in the next like month or two, or, you know, short term, to just get them like one step closer to actually doing what they're setting out to do, or getting closer to that, whatever they're trying to do?
Literally just put the ego aside, start posting on Facebook, start talking. I mean, really, if you have nothing else, if you don't have a big bank account, if you don't have somebody backing you up, you just got to put that ego aside and do whatever it takes. And I know that's a very generic answer probably to that question, but really, I think it's probably the simplest.
So
Yeah.
I tell Eric this all the time, but growing up, my dad constantly always used to say, I know you know, but I'm telling you anyways. And I love it because it's like, yeah, maybe people have heard it, you know, 100 times, but they may not be listening to it, you know, and it's like someone might be listening to this, and it's still super good advice. And I like that because even I've heard that before, but it's like, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to us talk, and then you, like, the way you phrased it, or the way you said it, or maybe it's everything we've just talked about, but for some reason, like you saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, like you really do. Like you got to set the ego aside, get out there, start talking.
There's no secret hack that's going to outbeat hard work.
Yeah.
And everybody wants a quick scheme, a quick million, and it just doesn't work like that. You know, you can listen to some of these guys and they'll sell you a line of crap. And, you know, if you got a guy with a bunch of money backing you, or you got a system that's already working for somebody else, that's fine. But for somebody who really is just getting started, you're never going to do anything better than just going out and working hard. And like I said, that's so simple, but really it's the truth.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've just seen it time and time again. And I'm sure you've talked to tons of young guys who've asked you that question a million times. And it's like, I wish I had a secret answer for you, man. I wish there was like one thing you could do, and maybe somebody knows more than me. Maybe there is, but I've never seen anything else work than just getting yourself out there.
Yeah, I like it.
It's fast, it's free, and it's easy. I mean, especially Facebook. Like you don't even have to network with 100 people like in person. It takes a long time. To post once on Facebook where 500 people will see it, I mean, it takes 5 minutes. Like that's the high leverage activity. That's why I'm like, we're doubling down on social media and stuff too. It's just like, man, you just, especially if you're young people will want to help you too. But yeah, like that's great advice. Just throw effort at it, especially high leverage stuff like social media.
Yeah. People get all, especially our really younger generation, you know, it's always, oh, well, what if I post out there in the ego and I don't get a lot of views? And I'm like, dude, if your video gets 400 views, imagine yourself standing in a gymnasium with 400 people in front of you. You'd be shitting your pants.
Yeah.
Like if 400 people see it, that's 400 more that, you know,
I mean, it's also like, look at it that way. I mean, you could post one video or you could go knock on 400 doors.
Right. Yeah.
I saw something this guy said, every time you post a TikTok or you post like an Instagram short, he said, it's like you're getting a free lottery ticket. He said, that might be the one video that blows up and you get 1 million views on it. He said, costed you nothing.
Yeah.
He said, why not? That really stuck with me. Yeah, just the consistency, just stay with it and it'll work. You know, if you work hard enough at something, you're going to succeed at it. There's no way you're not. I mean, if you try it for a little bit and you give up, well, that's on you.
Yeah.
But if you set your mind to something, I have every belief in the world that you're going to accomplish it. The only thing that's stopping you is yourself.
Yeah. Especially real estate. It's so tried and true. The fundamentals are there and all the information has been shared online. You can go out there, do 100 hours of research and they get the gist. Now it's just like, okay, I need to do these actions depending on my success rate will be my total success. But like really, I just have to figure out how to find off-market deals by doing X, Y, or Z, and then close on those deals, manage the rehab. Like if I have half a brain cell, I can manage a rehab. You know, you just study these things and you learn and you implement, but it's so tried and true. And there's so many people that have had like real success with it that it's not, you're starting like a high-end restaurant, starting like a freaking plane maintenance company or something, you know, like there's not high risk. It's not high risk. It's a very well understood, well paved road. So like it's such an easy thing relative to a lot of other businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
If you put your mind to it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's really the set I have for 25. I'm lasered in. I know what I want to do and I'm just going to do it.
Get the systems and everything.
Yeah. There's no stopping me this year. The only person that's
Awesome.
would stop me is myself. We did it.
Yeah.
We really made it.
We'll have you back on for a recap of everything that happened in 2025.
Yeah, we're going to be keeping the receipts here.
We're going to hold you accountable.
I would expect nothing less. So
and if you don't, I'm going to go on Monday Night Football on a commercial and just be like, you did not do your 5 to 10 high margin deals.
If anyone knows Joseph Andrews, tell him he sucks.
Here's his email and his Snapchat.
Not even to promote yourself, but to hold you accountable.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's a perfect segue into how people can get a hold of you. What's your Snapchat? What's your email? What's your handle on Instagram?
Yeah, where can people find you?
Literally. So basically all I've been doing this year, or where you're going to see most of my socials, is on Facebook. So literally just High Valley Real Estate Fargo. That's my brokerage. That's where I run my flip houses through. That's where we run rentals. Anything that I'm doing short form, long form, and even some of my podcasting stuff, that's where you'll catch it. So High Valley Real Estate Fargo, can't miss it. You'll catch me. Big guy standing on the front with a billboard like this. Can't miss me.
Dude, you have been awesome. This has been such an awesome freaking episode. We've gotten so many like great little nuggets. Yeah. And I love the energy too. Like it's fast paced.
Yes. Don't lose that ever.
But I mean, like that's just your superpower too. I mean, like the marketing, like the branding.
No, this is great, guys. I appreciate you letting me on here. And like I said, I look forward to having this conversation again in December.
Heck yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
Yeah, you guys got a great scoop. We got tons of valuable information for our listeners. If you're looking for on the real estate brokerage side, if you're looking to join up or you're looking for more agents underneath that brand, right?
Absolutely.
High Valley.
I'm always open for that conversation, just like you guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. Looking for great agents, looking for deals. And yeah, I mean, follow them on Facebook. Are you doing a lot more podcasting stuff too? You're diving into that world too?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how many you guys are going to do this year. Our goal, me and my co-host, we had kind of said like 5 to 7.
We're going to do 10 then. We're going to do more. Whatever you're doing, we're going to do
I would absolutely expect nothing less from you. But yeah, we're getting pretty specific with it. We're trying pretty hard. We're shooting for like very lucrative people. And so it's a whole different conversation. Like I love this because this is very relaxed.
Yeah.
Like we're sitting here, you're saying, oh, you can swear, you can say the F word, blah, blah, blah. I mean, when I'm sitting down with, Bell Bank CEO, I'm not going to be like, oh, F this guy, F that guy.
Yeah.
It's much more of a formal conversation.
Right. Yeah.
So, but it's been fun. We had the mayor and we've got a couple other big whales. I'm not going to share them yet, but when they come out,
off camera.
Yeah, off camera. But when they come on, you guys are going to be like, holy cow, you guys are having some cool conversations. Nice. So picking those guys' brain, I mean, I'm looking at them just like, oh my gosh, how can I get to that level? But I love to hear it. And, we're still young enough. They're willing to share some of those deals, whether or not I can do anything with their secrets, but I'll sure try.
Dude, that's a different level right there. That's totally your style too. Just shooting for the moon. These quality deals, man. I love it.
Only thing that's stopping you is yourself, man. Just got to give it your all.
Get that ego out of the way too. Yeah. Damn,
big game hunting.
We're more of like a quantity. We're a quantity, like we just can throw a bunch of like really good actionable tips to newbie investors, like that newbie investors and business owners. Like that's our demographic, because that's the people that we're going to like change their lives. Like they're going to do a real estate deal, or they're going to become a millionaire because they listen to some of our episodes and they're going to come and be on our podcast.
Yeah. I love that, man.
That's the goal. So like we'll refer people to your podcast and you can refer them to ours, and you'll have a little bit of a yin yang.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if I caught, what was the name of your podcast?
So we don't even honestly have a name. I mean,
really?
So my name is Joseph and my co-host name is Ben. So, I mean, if you were to put a name on it, we literally just call it like the Ben and Joseph podcast.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have anything.
The Ben and Joe show.
Anything as fancy as this or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's really, ours is super minimalistic. Like I love what you guys have, and you guys are a lot more structured than us, but ours is super tailored. It's a lot more, it's not as intrusive, because a lot of these big guys, I mean, they're not going to share.
Yeah.
There's only a certain amount of things that they're going to say, but really it's a lot more of their story and just of like their mentality. I want to hear, what are those guys thinking, right? I could sit here and be like, I'm watching Andrew Tate videos and I'll be like, what are these guys thinking when they get up in the morning at that level of like, okay, what do I need to continue to do to grow a business of that scale already? Yeah. I mean, it's a whole different mindset, and just getting to pick those guys' brain. It's really fun.
Well,
Sweet.
We'll definitely be tuning in for those episodes, so you have to keep us posted.
Yes, I absolutely will. I absolutely will. So
awesome.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for another episode. Check us out again next week when we drop another one.
Yet another one.
One
more than Joseph.
Thanks everybody for listening.
All right, guys. Thank you.
What?
I love putting these things in because I know he'll edit them out.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
You don't know that. I've kept some stuff in.
A lot of guys are like, hey, are you going to swear can I swear on the show? And I'm like, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Okay.